Hey there, Goa fans. This is Mark DJ Solitaire here with episode 123 of Retro Goa Explorations, my weekly series in which I share in every episode one of my favorite tracks from the 1990s Goa Trance psychedelic dance movement. We are still in the autumn of 97 through summer of 98 season, tracks that I encountered during that period or got my hands on during this period. And this is one that I remember hearing in late 97 that took me years to get my hands on. We're talking 15 years. So buckle up, buttercups, because this is quite a little story. So I was with a group of friends driving down to the south of London. Someone else was driving, and I can't remember who. And honestly, I can't remember who I was with. Probably, Richard Purple or Hector Toast or all of the above or some of the above. And somebody was driving, and there was a cassette on in the car. Y'all remember cassettes? Some of you might know cassettes. And so it was a mixtape. And all of a sudden, on comes this track, blended as part of this story, beautifully blended. And there's these whooshy, beautiful analog synth sounds and these wonderful runs. And there's this sample that says, "We're very curious to know where it is you come from." And the sample, and this other voice that says, "Another planet." And I was like, hold on a second. First of all, the music absolutely reminded me of what it is that I'd experienced and what it is that I kept in my consciousness, not having been able to remember real specifics. When I first heard Ollie in Tokyo in 1994, October 94, my first party that I went to. And, where I walked in, I heard these, real alien bleepy sounds and this fun, playful stuff and saw all these colors and, bright, this batik over here that's behind me. And, had this whole concept immediately, not knowing anything about the scene. It just absolutely struck me that, this is like people coming together and almost emulating what it is that would happen on another planet in terms of how it is that people gather together and hear sound and have light and color and movement and all of that sort of stuff. So, and I also knew there was, Tip Records had a down tempo compilation, Infinite Excursions 2, which had a down tempo track by the Infinity Project called Another Planet. And it had exactly the same voice. And listening to this track, I was like, wait a second, this absolutely sounds like a dance mix of that track, or at least, some of the same qualities. And it really sounded like the Infinity Project. Now, the tape apparently came from someone in Amsterdam. And the person whose car it was couldn't remember who. And this just went into my memory banks and into my must find list. It was around this time that I was also manically looking for the Delta track. Just all I knew was Delta, and I didn't know it was traveling at the speed of thought. And that one I did get a few months later, as I recounted in an earlier episode. But this one I did not. I didn't know Graham Wood or Raja Ram of the Infinity Project. I had never seen Graham. I had seen Raj, had exchanged hellos, but I didn't know him per se. So didn't have any opportunity to say, hey, what's that track? And so this just was filed away in the I would love to get this track and I don't know where to get it category. Fast forward to about 2011. And I'm having an online chat with my friend Emil in Toronto. And I don't know how it comes up, but he mentions this unpublished Infinity Project track with a sample, Another Planet. And I was like, wait, what? And he sends me an MP3 that somebody had uploaded. And I listened and it was like, that is the track. 100%, absolutely, that is it. Fast forward a few more months, and I had connected with Graham Wood online and arranged a trip to the UK, visit friends, and to visit Graham. And I met him the first night that I arrived there. I was staying with friends, a few stations away, and went over, connected. And then over the coming days, we started going through his DAT collection. And sure enough, there's a DAT. It says Another Planet, and several mixes of this track. Now, the reason there's several mixes is they would do a different pass, as it was called. They would run through everything and they'd see which one they liked. And sometimes there are little differences. Sometimes there were more overt differences as they did these live passes. Further changes to the structure or other ideas would come up. So I was like, this is a great track. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's one I did on my own. So it's officially an excess head track. So that's one of Graham's solo projects. And of course, it sounds like the Infinity Project tracks because Graham was part of that group. So of course, it's got his sound. And of course, he's got their sound, right? I mean, there's always, the give and take with the collaborative process. And this is very much a track that sounds like the Infinity Project, and yet, of course, is this solo Graham one. Now, it is unbelievably evocative, otherworldly, fun, playful, harmonic, broody, and mysterious, exactly as we know those wonderful Infinity Project tracks to be. I got together quite a few times with Graham then and on other occasions. And when DAT Records started a charity project using the label name DAT Mafia Recordings to raise money for an orphanage in Goa, helping children in India, in volume 2 of Mind Rewind, Graham was among the many artists who graciously gave some of their old tracks. There were some that were released, some that were unreleased, to provide an album that people wanted to buy so that the money could go towards helping the children. And that we did. And Graham donated this track. And on volume 2, the first track on CD 1 is mix number 5 of Another Planet. And so that's the one that we're going to listen to today. There's one other mix of this, another version of this that I love, which is one that I often play out. I played at CNA in 2015, and I think in Uppsala in 2023. I mean, all of the mixes are great. These are the two that I go between, and it's what we're going to listen to. So as you listen to this, just pay attention to, again, the wonderful otherworldly, very bleepy style synthesizer sounds, the wonderful use of the sample, and the combination of uplifting and somewhat dark, broody, mysterious atmospheres, which I think you'll recognize as qualities from those wonderful tracks by the Infinity Project that we all love. So let's get started and listen to mix number 5 of Another Planet by Excess Head, aka Graham Wood.
Actually, we are very curious to know where it is you come from.
So there's that sample, a little echo there. Notice that cool little, there are some of those bleepy sounds, the ones that really caught my attention. And then listen to that wonderful, mysterious riff there, while all these wonderful bleeps are going up and down. What a nice kick. And again, just the softness and the elegance.
That I
don't know. That mysterious, very inquisitive Infinity Project style riff. Listen to all the different layers that are going on here that all work together and sounds really like one voice. Beautiful harmonies. There's that almost mantra-like one note kind of thing that occasionally goes up. have again this sort of like almost siren-like clarion call, ambulance signal. Some of those bleeps coming in there, and then and all those different textures, right? There's those bleeps. Another round. Some variations. Some of those riffs going up and down. Another round. Right, so you get into this loop, right, where you get some of these patterns are repeating and there's some variation, so you don't know how long things have been going on. And then we get a little break here. Notice how these sound like voices as well. Great build up here. And still always in the background, there's that initial semi-bass riff that's kind of inquisitive. It's a fun upper frequency kind of clap-like percussive elements too. Fun little echo thrown in there. We get a nice little break and shift in direction, a little bit of a groove. And that riff comes back. Those are the sounds that immediately caught my attention that I think we really need to be hearing more of. And then that inquisitive. That gorgeous riff that just almost through the entire thing. And it's just, isn't it interesting how playful it is? While also being, you know, kind of wacky and mysterious. Notice the rhythm there.
Actually, we're very curious to know where it is you come from.
I mean, this is all just like echoing around in the space around you and in your head. Love that sort of that clears the space. And we get some more of those again, those gorgeous whooshes. Again, just as is always the case with the well-produced music at this time, just listen to all the different things that are going on all the different frequency levels and different textures.
From another planet.
I mean, seriously, what a track. So you can imagine how I was sort of, in the back of the car, driving to another event and thinking like this is the kind of music I've been after since from the beginning. And the music was starting to change direction back in 97. Of course, there was great stuff, right? Tip was still producing fantastic things. And but things were starting to get darker and losing their melody, and they're certainly losing a lot of that wonderful electronic bleepiness. Just those whooshes and that, the alien feeling was it wasn't as playful. At this point, it was starting to get, the music was getting broodier, but this is broody, but things were also starting to get dark and a little bit of aggro with the darkness. And that would really be, starting to especially take root in 98 and 99. And I remember by 99, that was pretty prominent, and a real absence of color and playfulness. And this has it all. The darkness is offset by playfulness. The upbeat quality is offset by some broodiness, and so they're different sides of the same coin. So we're not polarized. Nothing's excessively this or that. We kind of have that full spectrum. And this is something I've talked about quite a bit in this series, is how we have multiple emotions and multiple styles happening simultaneously. And I think it really ties in more of the human experience, the fact that we're not always just experiencing one emotion at any given time or having one thought at any given time. And this is, the complexity of being a human being, and a spiritual being in this human body at this particular time and, in this limited, time space continuum. And so for me, music like this really captures that and gives you a chance to dance and express, and release any of the stress that's around that really, I think, challenging aspect of the human experience. And to really wonder, what's it like on other planets? And, as I experienced in that, October 15th, 1994, in that club in Tokyo, wow, maybe this is also happening on other planets. Maybe our consciousnesses are actually from other planets and just happen to be here right now. And this is reminding us of where it is that we actually come from. I don't know. Another planet? So, very interesting track, one that I absolutely love. And I'm so thrilled that we got this version out. And of course, Graham is a genius musician, and an absolutely wonderful track by a true musical genius with a range of styles, both upbeat and down tempo. A really creative and fun and funny fellow. So hats off, Graham. Thanks for this brilliant tune. And I'll sign off here and leave you with the complete mix 5 of the Excess Head masterpiece, Another Planet.
Actually, we're very curious to know where it is you come from. Actually, we're very curious to know where it is you come from.